12 p.m., 1 p.m., whenever you have your lunch, you probably have something similar. Probably have very carbohydrate-rich meal, full of sugars, full of seed oils, full of processed ingredients. Then fast forward to around 4, 5 p.m., whenever you come back from school or work, you'll probably have some kind of snack in which you do the same thing again as your breakfast. Probably have some kind of biscuits, probably have some kind of tea. And then at night, you have your night meal, your dinner. You'll probably have some kind of horrible meal, which has toxic ingredients again. So you're chronically in a stage of brain fog, high insulin, seed oil consumption. Something in the long term, if you're lucky, in the long term, will cause you disease, illness, pain, brain fog, a fat body, an ugly body, an unaesthetic body, low confidence, poor testosterone levels, low levels of drive. It is just a big, massive cycle of rubbish, basically. The powers that be want you to eat breakfast. The truth is, you don't need to eat breakfast at all. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That is complete nonsense. When our ancestors were out in the wild hunting for food, do you think they had food every morning? I mean, really think about it. Of course they didn't. There were times of feast and then there were times of hunting. But before we talk about what we can actually do about eating breakfast and if you should in fact be eating it, you should know breakfast and breakfast styles of foods were created by Mr. Kellogg. And Mr. Kellogg, he invented cereal so that children and teenagers, they stop doing certain bad habits. Foods like cereal and other breakfast foods, they tank testosterone and they mess up your hormones. Now, for a very, very long time, I used to have breakfast. When I was 7 or 6 or whenever I first started eating breakfast, when I started going to school, I had breakfast from then until I was 14 years old. I think I was in year 9. So I used to eat breakfast, but then when I stopped, I transitioned to intermittent fasting. But this was involuntarily. I kind of just used to wake up for school and then I used to wake up quite late and then I no longer had time for breakfast. Before, when you first join school in secondary school, you're like, you want to be you want to be on time, you want to wake up early. So I used to have time for breakfast. But then when I got to the latter times of school, I stopped waking up so early. Now, I rarely ever have breakfast unless I'm traveling and my routine is different. But on a normal day, I don't really do breakfast at all. Instead, what I do is I push back my breakfast and I eat my first meal around 1 or 2 p.m. Then I have my next meal, my final meal, at 7 or 8 p.m. However, if I'm feeling hungry in between the meals, then I will have a snack in between the 2 meals. So around 5 p.m., I'll have maybe a protein shake. I'll make some kind of protein pancakes. Recipes in my school community. As soon as you join, I'll send it to you. But when I was younger and I was always having breakfast, I used to, the breakfast foods I used to have, as you probably still have to this day, is I used to have toast, I used to have cereals, I used to have biscuits. And the thing is, all of these things, especially, cereals and biscuits, they're marketed as, breakfast foods, which doesn't really mean anything, right? But they're actually just sweets. They're just sweets. You should just have a look at the container, the pack of whatever biscuits or cereals you're getting, and have a look at the sugar content. Have a look at what is actually inside of the ingredients that's inside of it, because they're just sweets. So just think, best way to start your day is to start with a packet of sweets. And the difference this has made for me not having breakfast, there were 2 things. One, it was a physical benefit or physical difference, and there was a mental difference too. Because just think about it, I wasn't starting my day with, jam sandwiches. I had razor sharp mental clarity. Because if you're starting your day with processed carbs and sugar, this really messes my thinking up. Or this really messed my thinking up. Physically as well, I lost a lot of weight. My body was in ketosis for longer. It was running off my own fat for longer. It was doing cleanup of the body, because when you're in ketosis, your body starts autophagy. And what autophagy is, it basically starts cleanup of the body, gets rid of dead cells, gets rid of things which you wouldn't really like having in your body. So my energy was higher too, and my energy was consistent. I noticed a big difference in school because I had a lot more focus and I could actually learn and remember stuff. So try this next time. If you have a task to do for school or for work, don't eat anything in the morning. Don't think anything in the morning. Just make a green tea or like a black coffee and do your task. Just see how much of a more difference you have, how much more energy you have, how much more drive, focus, clarity you have. And The freaks that made foods like cereals and breakfast foods, they want to tank your testosterone and make you a little obedient little slave. Now, this is especially bad for brown people because they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, not everyone actually has these breakfast foods. So a lot of brown guys that I know, their mum fell into this trap of believing breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But the thing is, their mum would feed them like a full-on dish for breakfast, like a seed oil full cook dish in the morning. Now, they would probably have this kind of dish maybe 2 or 3 more times during the day. And over the long term, we know, the bad things about seed oils. These guys were falling victim to the scam of breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but they didn't even have the ability to enjoy these breakfast foods. They were just having these seed oil dishes, these cultural dishes. And it's just a very, very bad thing to do. You don't need to have breakfast at all whatsoever. However, if you do want to have breakfast, don't fall into this trap of having breakfast foods. Just have like a proper meal earlier in the day and have your second meal of the day around 5 p.m. or so. So for reference, my eating window is around 6 to 8 hours of the day. So I eat my first meal around 2 p.m. and my second meal of the day is around 8 p.m. So my eating window is from 2 till 8, but on occasion it will stretch to 10 p.m. But very rarely do I eat after 10 p.m. Very, very rarely. So if you're eating your first meal at 11 a.m., just for reference, you should keep your fasting, your eating window till about 5, 6, at a stretch maybe 7 or 8 p.m. Now, the most important thing you need to remember is it's not about timing or whatever. Just make sure you're getting the right amount of calories in for whatever your goal is. So if you're trying to cut weight, have the right amount of calories you need to cut weight. Or if you want to gain weight, have whatever surplus you need to have. And the next thing is you just need to get in your protein as well, the right amount of protein that you need to get for whatever your goal is. That's literally all you need to do. That's all you need. Forget about breakfast, forget about breakfast food, forget about lunch, forget about dinner. Just have your meals at meal times. Have your meals at meals. That's literally the most important thing for your goal, most important thing for your health. Because if you start your meal with the day, let's just say you start your meal with the day with you have a packet of, you have some biscuits and you have some kind of tea with a bit of milk in it. That's what you start your day with. Now, the biscuits you're having is sugary biscuits. They will 100% give you brain fog. You won't even know you have brain fog. You probably just have chronic brain fog. But you probably chronically have, you just cannot think straight. You cannot focus because that's what you start your day with. Around 12 p.m., 1 p.m., whenever you have your lunch, you probably have something similar. Probably have very carbohydrate-rich meal full of sugars, full of seed oils, full of processed ingredients. Then fast forward to around 4, 5 p.m., whenever you come back from school or work, you'll probably have some kind of snack in which you do the same thing again as your breakfast. You probably have some kind of biscuits, probably have some kind of tea. And then at night, you have your night meal, your dinner. You'll probably have some kind of horrible meal, which has toxic ingredients again. So you're chronically in a stage of brain fog, high insulin, seed oil consumption. Something in the long term, if you're lucky in the long term, will cause you disease, illness, pain, brain fog, a fat body, an ugly body, an unaesthetic body, low confidence, poor testosterone levels, low levels of drive. It is just a big, massive cycle of rubbish, basically. And the most easiest thing, it's a very, very easy thing to get out of if you just have this kind of introspection and you kind of have to think about, why do I have this brain fog? All you need to do is eat real food and eat at meal times. Don't constantly snack, don't constantly graze. Have a meal time and stick to that meal time and have a time, like a cut-off point. You don't need to intermittent fast like I do, but this is the most easiest way to kind of structure your life. Have a meal time. It could be whatever time you want. If you're someone who gets hungry every morning, like you need to have breakfast, otherwise you don't have any energy or whatever, right? Oh, I don't believe in that anyway. But say you need to have breakfast, you're used to having breakfast. You have breakfast at 8 a.m. usually. Try and push that back to around 11, ideally 12. Then at 12 p.m., you have your meal of the day, your first meal of the day, whatever that might be. Ideally, you keep that meal as like a serious meal. You don't have breakfast foods or whatever. And then next, around 4, 5 p.m., you have a protein shake. and then at 8 p.m. you have your last meal of the day, and you tick all your boxes. You get your calories in, you get the right amount of protein in. If you want, something sweet, then what I would recommend is you have some kind of Greek yogurt with honey. You have dark chocolate, you have fruits, because fruits have fiber in it. It's 100% fine. You cook with real ingredients, single ingredient foods. You don't want to get something from like the grocery store and then flip around the box of whatever you've bought, and you can't even read the ingredients on it because it's full of chemicals, full of preservatives. You don't want to be eating on foods like that because they will 100% mess you up. Back to the topic of the video, is breakfast, do you need to have breakfast? Simple question. The simple answer will be no. And that's it, boys. If you want me to structure your day, structure your diet, structure your training one-to-one, then join my eSchool community. The link will be in the description below, the first one. Click on that. Thank you. I also have a lot of cooking videos, and I also teach you how to cook as well. So if you need help with that, then check that out. Thank you.